Hello there, welcome to this session. What we're looking at is, or what I'm answering in this particular session is your questions. So I've had a little look through and there's plenty to answer. So I'm just waiting for my thingy to come back up because the internet just suddenly disappeared on me just as I went live. Okay, so So what we're looking at is the questions that I asked you to see whether you wanted to ask things, which is to do with the Enlightenment path process. So just as wait till the questions come up. What all of your questions kind of relate to is different stages of the journey. So the things that you are finding that you're struggling with in your life at the moment, the things that you feel stuck around and the things that are creating quite a lot of frustration. And by the looks of things, when these things kind of pop up, they're incredibly frustrating for you because you're very aware that it's a block. So rather than it be, some people are blissfully unaware and they think, oh, this is a thing in my road and I'll just won't bother, and they don't try that kind of stuff. For you, it's really frustrating as an intuitive sensitive because it's a block, and that you think, well, I want to get beyond this. I just want to move beyond it. So why can't I just step over it? Why does it have to be something that sits in my way? Why does it have to be something that I find tricky to maneuver? Well, the short answer to that is that it isn't that you're inadequate, that you can't do these things. That's not the case whatsoever. It's not the case that, the more you try, the harder it is. It's not the case at all. It is part of that opening journey. It is part of that journey. Why is it part of that journey? Because in order to stretch yourself, there has to be something that you have to push up against. And these things are showing in your life as something that is there, not the actual, it's often the case, it's not the actual situation that's right there that's creating the block. It's the things that precede that. And that block that is occurring right there and then is a symptom. It's not the cause. So whilst you're focused on it as the cause, you can't see and how it's contributed as a symptom. So what I'm going to do is show you through some of these questions that you've asked here exactly how that has occurred and what kind of stages that's occurring, what kind of stages of the Enlightenment journey. Now, once you have a sort of a clearer understanding of what that is, and as far as the Enlightenment journey is concerned, you then don't feel that you need to take those things that have occurred in your life as personally. They're much more, oh, I don't have to take this personally. This is not something that's against me. It is part of my experience and part of my thing to get over or get past. Now, I absolutely understand that as part of the experience. If you're thinking, oh, well, you don't understand that, Heidi, because, life is easy for you. No, life was once extremely hard for me. Very, very hard. And you could say, oh, well, you're just lucky that you came across the right things at the right time. You're lucky that you've got this. You're lucky that you've got a good relationship. You're lucky that you've got children. You're lucky that you've got freedom to be able to do what you want. All of those things. It's not luck. Those things were created. And part of those things that were created was as a result of passing through some very difficult phases. So understand what those very difficult phases in life are, and also how frustrating they are, how really frustrating they are. Okay, so to answer some of your questions, I'm going to answer them in terms of looking at through the Enlightenment journey, but also adding into that some parts within which I have explained on a live session very recently for members, which is through the Philosopher's journey. Okay, so through the philosopher's journey of how things occur, things operate in your life. Okay, so stage one of the philosopher's journey, anyway, generally is how you would feel at the foundation stage. So feeling kind of out of alignment. When you feel out of alignment, you know that something wants to change, something wants to be different, but you don't necessarily know what that something is. All you can feel is that what's going on in your life doesn't feel like it fits. It sort of feels like you're wearing the wrong size shoes, that the shoes are too small to be able to walk comfortably in anymore. But if you change them, it kind of feels like you're then wearing shoes that are too big and they're kind of flopping off your feet. And so the frustration is, where do I find the right size shoes? Where do I find where I fit? Where do I find where I fit in? And then you try on lots of different pairs of shoes in order to find that sense of purpose until you find the perfect fit. Now, that perfect fit doesn't just naturally fall in your lap, because if it was to just naturally fall in your lap, you wouldn't have built any of the experience in order to know when someone's shoes fit. Okay, so hopefully that kind of gives you a little bit of a picture. So in the first instance, at this foundation stage, what you're doing is you are thinking about, you are dreaming about how things need to be different. So the first step of the philosopher's journey is about dreaming that question. So it's dreaming that question, which is, what should go on in my world? What is my real world? What is the world that I want to be in? How do I live within the dream that I have either created or I can feel that I'm supposed to be involved in, especially when my real life doesn't feel like it fits in that sense. It doesn't feel that it fits like that. In actual fact, things are tough, things are difficult, things are tricky. And that is moving through that pod stage, which is moving through those things that are difficult. So that tends to be stage two of the philosopher's journey, which is the shattering of untruths. Now, lots of your questions actually relate to that stage, which is the shattering of untruths, which is moving past things that you've thought are true in life, which are proving to be untrue, so to speak, which is you thought that things should be this way and really they're that way. And there's different ideas of reality. What is my reality? Okay, so going to the questions. Okay, so this one is Vicky. I'm a big ball of emotions and feelings. My stomach is in a big knot and I don't know what to do with all the emotions and feelings. I only recently became aware of my potential as a life code 11, so I feel like I'm at loss at the moment. So the feeling that I'm not moving forward with the frustrations, I am more than aware that I can use my abilities to help others. But for that, I have to help myself first. I don't know how to, because there is so much info and that I don't know what to leave and what to take home. I research. My immune system is haywire. I was told to stay home from work because they were scared that I would pick up the virus with me not having a great immune system. Okay, so what this is, it's that, so this question, so Vicky's question is that whole, I'm at that place where things don't feel like they fit and it feels like I'm trying on different shoes and none of them fit. It's beginning to become irritating. What do I do as far as that's concerned? So therefore feelings are going on, so the stomach in a big knot. What that is, it's the conflict. So as far as the enlightenment path is concerned, there always comes a stage where there is a conflict. There is a conflict between should I stay behind within what is familiar but uncomfortable? Or should I take a big risk and go into a new space that's unfamiliar, that I don't know, that is completely new, but feels more in keeping with where I should be going or where I want to go? But the question then becomes, but what if I get there and it doesn't reach my expectation? What if I get there and it's not what I expected? What if I get there and I'm disappointed? So best to be somewhere in between, where I can't be disappointed, but I can't be satisfied, because then at least I'm in something that feels familiar. Well, for Vicky, her whole system is getting to that place where it's saying, no, we have to start to become comfortable with risk. We have to start becoming comfortable with allowing ourselves that transformation, which would be at the stem point, which is the stem point is, it's the point between where you're changing to, your vibration is changing to the extent where you can't go back, as in it doesn't fit anymore. You cannot go back to wearing shoes that are too tight. You can't go back to that scenario. You can't face it. You can't face trying to squeeze your feet into something that won't work for you, where it felt uncomfortable and crippling. So the big knot in the stomach is, oh my God, I've got to put these shoes on that are too tight for me. Okay, so how does that relate in your life, in everyone's life? Well, it is those moments when you are faced, and you will be, if you haven't been as yet, you were faced with, do I take the chance? Do I risk myself? Do I take that chance and move myself forward, even if I don't know what the outcome is? And that is part of life. It is that whole, or part of the enlightenment journey, which is, in order for you to allow yourself to step onto it, there has to be an element of risk. There has to be, I don't know what my outcome is. Why does there have to be some kind of element of risk? Because the outcome is the journey. Okay, you think, well, hang on, how does that make sense? Well, in your logical mind, you go from A to B, and you show up at B, and you think, oh, I'm here. Okay, but B gave me a feeling, but it didn't give me, oh, that's a bit disappointing. It didn't sustain me in a feeling. No, because it was A to B. Oh, and then it becomes that whole process in your own mind, which is, well, if I go, oh, if I start this as A point again and I go to B point, is that going to be good? Am I going to feel good? Is that going to be sustained? So when you've done that quite a few times, and you've had quite a few experiences of those through your life, then your A to B points, you start to get a little bit cynical about your B point, and you start to get a little bit scared, because it goes into that place of, well, what if that B point isn't what I hope it is? If it isn't what I expected, if it isn't, I can't afford to be disappointed again. And Vicky's saying that because in this part where she's talking about her immune system being haywire, so that's one of the indications that and it happens a lot for intuitive sensitives, which is the immune system starts to go, whoa, no, this is too much. We're having to work too hard. It's too much. And it's often an indication that someone has had prolonged stress through their life, and their system is now saying to them, do you know what? We've had enough with stress. We've had enough of being disappointed with A to B points. What we want is the A to C point, which is, we'll miss out B, because actually our experience is the journey. Our experience is, the risk is of the journey. And the risk of the journey is that everything is an everyday endpoint. So it grows. And the fact is, if it's not, something's not growing, it's dying. So everything is A to B points. They're not, it's grabbing from one greasy pole in life to another greasy pole in life, hoping that you're going to grip onto that second greasy pole a lot easier. Whereas if you let go of all greasy poles and you're allowing the risk in the journey, and the journey being the experience, what it does is it opens everything up. And it opens everything up to finding the shoes that fit. Okay, so Vicky's whole system is saying, okay, we now need to allow ourselves to start to become comfortable with risk. So what she would do well with is to start to allow herself to feel, because that's what makes an intuitive sensitive world. Is what you do is you feel a lot, so you spend your whole life trying to avoid feeling. The worst thing you can do, because you go, oh my god, I feel too much, I'm too sensitive. You may have been told that too many times. Oh god, I'm just too sensitive, I mustn't feel. Well, actually that is your uniqueness, is how you are able to understand feelings. So why not understand them? Why not focus on allowing yourself to understand them? So Vicky would do well, and how she would move forward is to allow herself to experience the emotion of risk. Because what also you thrive on as an intuitive sensitive is, if you're allowing yourself to have the experience of risk, what are you doing each time? If you're allowing yourself to have the experience, not actually having to go through risk, but through the emotions of it, what you're doing each time is you're allowing your whole system to become used to the idea of trying different shoes on to find the ones that fit, rather than I can only try one set of shoes on and they must fit, and if they don't fit, it's going to be catastrophic. Because the A to B points always, they've been a disappointment. Okay, so for Vicky's scenario, to help her system relieve that, she would do very well to start to not necessarily take risks, because that's not, it's to allow herself, her energy, to consider the exploration of. So as an example, you could do something like okay, so what would be a risk? Okay, so for Vicky's scenario, let's say she wants to change I recently became aware of my potential as a life code 11. Okay, so I'm lost at the moment. So that means that as a life code 11, she's probably sort of looked at that whole depth of ability, intuitive skills, and all of that. It's kind of gone, whoa, okay, that is a little bit daunting. Well, so then what she could do is go into the risk, because all her feelings and emotions in a big ball of knots, is to go, I wonder what it would feel like if I let myself go into my intuition. I wonder what that would feel like if I let myself do that. Okay, well, let me experiment with that feeling. If she was to do that, then all of that big ball of emotion and feeling that's going around, going, I don't know what to do with them, I need to put them somewhere. Instead of those being a shame thought, it would be an embracing thought. And then, because all of emotions and feelings are often, is your unconscious trying to communicate. So she would then start to find that her internal world is starting to communicate. And then those feelings will calm down. Okay? Right, so let's have a look. Okay, so Tolly, this so the question is, the first one is, one of the first calls, first stages of enlightenment is the call for change. So that's the main first question. So what is the scenario? So most of my problems have been clarified. However, there is a massive gap to reckon with, as the problems seem insurmountable and disappointment and intolerability looms. My relationships are no longer working, nor at work. I have to manage depression, health problems, and lack of my own focus and trust. So the question to ask is, working through self-trust and other trust in life issues feels mysteriously convoluted. Also trying to figure out how to afford and proceed in the journey. Okay, so again, Tali, this is, so it becomes that question again. It's the A to B point. It's oh gosh, I've been to lots of A to B points and life has given me disappointment. So I can't go to any more B points until I can be absolutely certain that they are safe. Again, this is similar, exactly the same thing, same stage, which is to allow that possibility of risk. Doesn't mean to say that you actually take the risk, but it's the possibility of risk, because then your whole system can start to move, it can move forward, it can move on. So as an example, so my relationships are no longer working, nor is work. Okay, so it would be, right, so what parts of relationships are not working? You would ask that question. You would risk feeling what's not working for you. So it would be honoring that. Again, this is a transformation point. And then you understand whether it's just self-sabotage aspect because it's a temporarily scared feeling, or it is a genuine, no, I need to let go and I need to release this. So this would be, in terms of the philosopher's journey, it is about understanding, aspects of moving beyond destructive truth. So it's this shattering of the untruths. So this would be a stem point where it would be that kind of transformation. What parts do I let go of? Where do I manage the risk on this? How do I look at things with that perspective, so that my feelings world stops trying to shout at me, so I can actually hear what it's talking about. Okay. So next question is, this is Gigi. So, okay, so what do you think is calling you towards change? Stagnation. Okay. What aspects of your life feel restricted? And what do you like help with for your unconscious, to release the unconscious release feeling stuck? Work, high earnings, and personal relationships of all types have collapsed. I'm happy and I don't want ever to go back to that life or those people. But I have been stuck with movement forward to the next phase. Even working out doesn't yield results. Why am I stuck in this area? Okay, so what this is about, okay, so in Gigi's unconscious, most likely it's a pod issue, because it will be probably something that it has been encoded through past generations, or certain, kind of conditioning that has occurred, maybe through past generations, which will be that the messaging in the unconscious will be that to have work, high earnings, and personal relationships, you must sacrifice your happiness. So it will be generations past where people, other relatives, if she was to go through those and find the relatives who felt that high earnings and work and personal relationships meant self-sacrifice and feeling miserable. So she doesn't associate work, high earnings, and good personal relationships as being something that she can have without life being sacrificed. So that would be a pod issue. So that would be working that out of the unconscious, so that, of course, she can then have great work, still have high earnings, and great relationships, and there doesn't have to be any aspect of self-sacrifice, because it's one or the other. And how she's feeling at the moment, I can either have it all and be miserable, or have nothing and be happy. That's not true. Okay, that's a conditioning, and that will be something that's stuck in the unconscious that relates back to probably through the generations. It may not even be parental, it could be back a couple of generations or even two. I've seen it where it goes back. There can be some huge things that are stuck in people's lives that are just not moving, not happening, not changing, and you just flick that one thing and it flicks off, and then everything opens up, relationships open up. I've seen people go from kind of tootling along thinking, God, life is hard, gosh, it's hard to earn a decent living, it's hard, everything's hard, to flicking. There's been one part in their life that just needs, the switch needs to flick, and it's been related to something that you would think, oh my God, how could that possibly be related to that? It's released from the unconscious, and all of those things open up, and all of those things have just miraculously maneuvered that into place. They've just fallen straight in. Why? Because it was already there and it was already stacked up ready, but there was something that needed to release. Because what happens is the unconscious works on the basis of instruction. It doesn't. So in your conscious world, you think, should I do this? Should I do that? You kind of make reasoned decisions. Your unconscious, which just takes in loads of things, far more than your conscious mind does or has done, says, well, actually, nah. Our instruction is nah. When we come across that, it messes with our possibility of survival. And it's got nothing actually to do with your life right now. It's got something to do with Aunt Maisie's life, 200 years ago, because it was relevant then. But the survival mechanism, which is, if you do that, you're not going to survive, was relevant to Aunt Maisie 200 years ago. But that has been encoded through, you do that, it's dangerous. So as an example, that could be setting up your own business. That happens a lot. So for Aunt Maisie 200 years ago, that was like, whoa, no, don't do that. That's a dangerous idea. You'll be humiliated. You'll be, because that's what happened to her 200 years ago. She thought, well, I'll do that, and that's what happened. So it becomes that encoded scenario through a few generations, which is, no, don't do that. You're a female. You want to set up your own business, you're going to be humiliated. Sure enough, you then think, well, I'm stagnating, which is what Judy's saying. I'm stagnating. Why am I stagnating? There's no reason. I'm perfectly capable. What is all this about? Well, you find that original energy, disperse it. Guess what? Free to get on with that. Okay, but these things are often, they show on the enlightenment path in order for you not to hold you up, to actually move things up, open things up, to move things forward, and to release old stagnant stuff that you'd be amazed how it impacts things through the generations. And bear in mind, you are the first. If you think about it, you are the first. You are the first in your family line, in your social circles, in your working dynamics. You will be the first. You will be the first who is crashing through old patterns, making your way through it, changing stuff. You are the first. You don't have anybody else in your immediate vicinity that's done exactly the same thing. Okay, there will be, because world consciousness is going through a major shift. But right now, you are the first. You are the pioneer. You are the one blazing through that. And of course, as you go blazing through that, there is a high level of uncertainty. Why does it have to be you? Because you're an intuitive sensitive. You're a sensitive who's also developed that level of intuitive skill. And intuition is thought to be the highest form of intelligence. Why? Because you have to be able to filter some of that information. It's not, you have to be able to interpret and allow that to interpret. With the sensitized system, it becomes a lot easier to interpret. Okay, so you are the first. You're the first. You're not the only sensitive. I'm sure there's been other sensitives in your family, but you are most likely the first intuitive sensitive, which means that you are developing an understanding of that deeper world, that deeper question. You're on that aspect of the philosopher's journey, which is the asking the question, the dreaming the question. It's like, oh, well, what is it? What is life? What is its meaning? And so you start to open that as a question through your life, through that enlightenment process. Okay. Right. Next question. It's absolutely cooking here. It's hot as hot can be. I tell you, this country is not used to hot weather. Okay, so actually, so I might have to grab that water. Just bear with me 2 seconds. Okay, so next question. So this is Jackie. Okay, so what do you think is happening and has happened in your life that's calling you towards change? Many years ago, I started on this path. Then my partner bought a pub, even though he was an alcoholic. That happens quite a lot, apparently, as in alcoholics buy pubs. I was nearly a recluse, but I ended up running the whole business, finished with pub employment to support worker for a young girl paralysed from the neck down. That could have led to me leaving the relationship. But daughter had motorbike accident, 11 years on, still helping. Okay, so in between all this, I have supported friends, but I am still stuck not really knowing what I should be doing. I do what should be done. Okay. So what aspects of your life feel restricted, and what question would you like to ask to help your unconscious beliefs feeling stuck? I can heal, but don't, as I find people not great at meeting people, and if I do end up talking and encouraging them, and asking myself, why don't you do what you say? Answer is, I haven't time. I don't know the right people, and I'm tired. Okay, so what this is, again, this is part of it's very usual for sensitives. It's part of the intuitive sensitive journey because it's about healing that, is that self-sacrificing component, which is I must sacrifice everything about myself, everything about my own happiness, and make sure I put everything other than me first, because if I put myself first, I feel incredibly guilty and I'm a bad person. And so my unconscious creates dynamics where I have to be the caretaker endlessly for various different situations. And then the call comes, and the call is, I am too tired, which Jackie is saying here, I'm too tired to carry this on. I have to allow some aspect of change where I am no longer completely self-sacrificing and feeling guilty if I do something for myself. So what is that as part of the life journey, of the enlightenment journey? Well, that's a seed stage. It becomes that whole, I now need to plant a new seed in my life. If I'm planting apples, but I want pears, you can never make an apple tree a pear tree. Okay, it's an apple tree. It's never going to grow pears. So you have to change something fundamental. Okay, something fundamental. In order, if you want pears, you have to plant pear trees. Okay, so that comes here at the seed stage, which is allowing yourself to let go of what doesn't work for you. And often it's not about people, it's about part of your inner world and your inner conditioning of what you think you are supposed to be about. So for Jackie's scenario is she thinks, her unconscious thinks, I'm supposed to be completely self-sacrificing and never released from that. Okay, so then would be, well, where does that come from? Because that doesn't make logical sense. Well, that would be going back to the pod and thinking, who else in my family line has experienced that? And then that would be releasing that from the unconscious. And guess what happens? Powers it on through. Then what could Jackie expect? Well, she then carries on within that, and she could then expect you start to get, when she gets to that bud phase, it buds, the flower isn't full bloom yet, but it's going in that direction. It's now allowed to be seen, can be seen. And what that becomes is going from the Stone Ranger, which is I'm here and I'm here as the rescuer, which is what Jackie's having to do, but no one's there to support me, into the higher frequency of connection, which is, wow, now I'm allowed, I can accept into my world people who are there for me. Okay, that it doesn't have to be where none of my needs are seen to, that I can see everybody else's, but no one sees mine. Okay, so it becomes the end of that frequency, end of that vibration. Hopefully that makes sense. Okay, so next question is okay, just bear with me a second. Okay, so this is Elizabeth. Okay, as an elder, it's important to reevaluate and clarify what will foster harmony for myself, others, and the need for community at large, where world issues such as a deadly virus is threatening quality of life on Earth. So what aspects of your life feel restricted, and what question would you like to ask to help your unconscious release feeling stuck? Making a relevant work contribution either through my own tiny business or continue working with educating children through substitute teaching or creating a small non-profit for the benefit of emotionally abused children or women. I want to continue to work and need to figure out how. Also, how to deal with my adult son who has a major anger problem and create a better relationship if possible. Also, dealing with my ex-husband recently. We got divorced, still have attachment feelings, but I'm moving on to a better place with a man who is my best friend now for more than 6 years. How do I navigate the split in my heart? Okay, so, and the big question is, how do I control intense anxiety about my son? Okay, so son with having major anger issues. Okay, so what this is, there's two things going on here, it feels like, as far as Elizabeth is concerned, which is there's that desire to give. So it's like there's the desire to give back, which happens always. Okay, for everyone as an intuitive sensitive, at some point there's a desire to contribute to it contributes to that sense of fulfillment, sense of happiness. There is that strong feel, and so that's what Elizabeth is feeling. But at the same time, it is so she's wanting to do it as invisible. There's a sort of invisibility feeling. How do I know that? Well, because saying I want to make it small, a small non-profit for the benefit of emotionally abused children or women. So there's a strong understanding or affinity with that. So it's something small. I want it non-profit. So it means then I don't want to be visible. I don't want to be seen. I don't want to have to justify anything. I want be of assistance, but at the same time, I don't want to be visible within that. So I suspect within that past scenario, there's been an energy of upset, or there's been energy of extreme upset, probably around humiliation, energy of humiliation. So, and that's something that often happens on the enlightenment path, which is if there is anything buried that is around the energy of humiliation, it comes up to solve it, to be solved, because that is people's nemesis. Okay, humiliation energy is someone's nemesis, which is if you're carrying this fear of humiliation, you're never going to get over worrying about what other people think. You're never going to get over doing things that you want to do, because you'll always be frightened of the risk. You'll be frightened of the risk that someone else might find out, someone else might not approve, someone else might think that you're not good enough. It distracts. It's a big a humiliation energy. It's a big, powerful distraction. Okay, but it's one that again, on the enlightenment path, you have to allow yourself to work through. Why? Because then you come into much more into this space of the unownable space, because if you're not carrying the vibration of the fear of humiliation, it's very difficult for people to get traction on you in terms of trying to have power over you, because you don't have a fear of humiliation. So if they're going to use some kind of manipulation tactic, which is, well, if you do that, I'm going to say this, or I'm going to do that, and you go, yeah, right, whatever, bothered not, then what that person was going to use it for doesn't work. The attraction isn't there. Not the attraction, the traction. So they can't get it to grip. Okay, so a big part of the path, the enlightenment path, and certainly the philosopher's journey, is to release the attachment to the vibration of humiliation. Now, you would say, okay, well, at which point of the journey is that? It's between, I would say, seed and stem, particularly because it's about letting go, and what's the lower frequency of letting go vibration? The lower frequency is the ice age. Ice age, what does that mean? The ice age means being frozen out, feeling that you're disapproved of, that unless you do something that is in alignment with what's been expected of you, then you'll have no approval. So you think, oh, okay, well, I just better do that then. But it doesn't fit. It's about letting go of that. Okay. This part here is when you're climbing hills, you think, oh God, this is tiring. God, this is one hill after another hill after another hill. This is hill country. It's the stem, it's transformation part. Oh God, I thought I was past that test, and now I'm into another test, and there's another test, and oh God, this is really hard going. What do I do to make the test stop? Well, what does hill climbing achieve? What does it achieve for you? It achieves resilience. Okay, so part of the philosopher's journey, which is stage 5 of it, is overcoming doubt. Okay, it's overcoming your own self-doubt and all of that kind of stuff. And part of overcoming doubt is having to work through that frequency of the fear or the attachment to humiliation. And I suspect that this is where Elizabeth's energy is asking to take us, to release her from the binds of the vibration of humiliation. So it would be a case of going through parts and going into the unconscious and dealing with the energy that has been around the experience of humiliation. Okay, and as far as the sun is concerned, it would possibly, and I've seen this happen lots of times, people working the path, is that difficult scenarios with either partners or in this scenario with the sun seem to resolve themselves how do they resolve themselves? Well, sometimes it's because the clash is no longer there, because a lot of the time children, whether they're little people or big people as they grow into adults, often reflect something that's deep within our unconscious. So if that's no longer there, it releases that. It releases that that energy, that dynamic. And I suspect that that's tied in with some part of humiliation, because does this feel like? Either the son is his anger is humiliating, or he brings up things that occur which are an effort to humiliate. Okay, so I would suspect that if Elizabeth was to release that from her own psyche, or to think about releasing that, which would be uncomfortable, not going to say it's going to, it's going to be a whole pile of roses, to release that, it may well then have a knock-on effect as far as the son is concerned. Either in that way, or because you're no longer carrying humiliation. You're no longer carrying humiliation. You'd be amazed how you are prepared to speak up, and speak up without judgment or and certainly no humiliation. It's more like, no, I don't accept that. And it's, why don't you? Yeah, no, I don't accept that. It doesn't become more. It's not. It's a non-starter. It's no, I don't accept that. If you haven't got the energy of humiliation anymore, if you're not carrying it, okay. So I think I've got time for one more question. Let's see what this is. Okay. Okay, so this is Robin. Oh, this is interesting. So one of the first stages of enlightenment is calling you towards change. Oh, this is nice. So chapter 10 of your book opened my eyes, and I've been blessed in changing my life for the better after reading it. Thank you so much for caring and sharing clarity. I feel restricted in my abilities to deeply relax and have fun. Okay, so what that will be to do with is finding it difficult to deeply relax and have fun. That is very much to do with the pod stage, and again that happens quite a lot for intuitive sensitives, which is that goes back to early life experiences, which is, it's the serious child. You have to be serious. You have to grow up. You grew up quite early, and you feel that you have to be very aware of your environment and the people in it, and take care of them, take care of their needs, take care of what needs to happen next. And partly that could be literal experience, or that can be because you've got a sensitized system. You think, well, I'm going to try and make life easier for everybody, so I'll grow up and take charge of things. And when that occurs, it then does become tricky to allow yourself through into adult life to be able to then relax and think, okay, I can relax now, and I can have fun without feeling guilty. This terrible guilt for wanting to have fun. This is a pod issue. So it's bandit country. So bandit country simply means, the vibration of bandit country means that people seem to think that they can behave in any way they want to around you. They can be obtuse, they can be disrespectful, and somehow or another that's supposed to be accepted. Okay, so when you go back into the history solved part, what you're doing is creating boundaries. It doesn't mean to say then that those boundaries have to be with the people around you, because maybe those people aren't around you anymore. It means boundary with yourself. So the child, as an example, in this, you can't relax and have fun. It's kind of going, well, I need to return to some aspect where I feel safe. Okay, so then your unconscious returns to that, where it's achieving boundaries, so it starts to feel safe. Then where it feels really quite safe, that is when you can let things then open up. go into letting go, it doesn't become whoa, it becomes I can let go into things, I can relax into things, I can let myself trust a little bit more. Doesn't mean to say massively more, but again, it's allowing the journey from A to B, from gripping one greasy pole to another. It's letting go of those poles and going, wow, I am going to let myself have the fullness of the journey, fullness of the experience. Now, I would say, as an example, for me personally, I would say that happened several times. I think you can have it happen, at different times in your life and different experiences. But I'd say that happened to me several times in my life, and I would say one of that kind of calling phase where I go, whoa, okay, I need to find shoes that fit. And I think I probably woke up when I was about maybe late teens, maybe around about 20, and I thought I literally woke up in the morning and went, who am I? I remember waking up thinking, who am I? I don't think I actually know who I am. I don't know who I am. And going from that sort of, I don't know who I am, I made a decision, and it didn't come from a logical place. It was that the questioning dream that is, well, I need to find out who I am. Who am I? I have no idea who I am. I need to find out. And I can remember making a decision which was, and I'm going to do whatever it takes to find out the answer to that question. And right at the beginning of that whole, it wasn't right then, but it was fairly soon after, I thought, well, I'm going on this, literally, it was a spiritual quest almost. It was the Enlightenment process. It was a long time ago. And where, anything along those lines was completely rejected, total, no, long time before the internet. It was just a big no. That's not allowed. It's not allowed. And I thought to myself, I'm going to do it anyway, even if I'm rejected, by those who have been part of my everyday world, my friendships, my family dynamics, and that's exactly what I did. And I'm not saying that everyone has to go through that, but when I had to let go, I had to let go of family dynamics, I had to let go of friendships, all of those kind of things, because I made a commitment to myself of going, do whatever it takes. Literally woke up one morning and went, I have no idea who I am. And there were lots of, and I changed everything. I don't recommend that people do this, but this is what I did at the time. I jacked in my job, jacked in everything basically, and I started out with nothing, absolutely nothing. I had nowhere to live really, because I'd upset my family by saying, well, I wanted to go and look at the deeper part of life, and they was like, oh my god, you've joined some cult. I still to this day have no idea what cult I joined, but anyway, it was, well, you're not accepted here. So I had no home, no money, no job at that particular, and I didn't even have a car. Actually, I gave that up as well. So I remember, after having sort of made those decisions, thinking, what the hell am I doing? I was sat on a beach, sat on what's called Brighton Beach. So I was down there for some reason. I walked past this shop, and there was this really ugly Buddha in the window. And I went in and I bought this really ugly Buddha. I don't have him anymore. I should have kept him. But he was really ugly. It's the ugliest Buddha I've ever seen. And I carried this ugly Buddha down to Brighton Beach, which is Pebble Beach, and I sat him in front of me, and absolutely devastated. It was like my whole life had fallen apart, and in utter grief, devastation. And I start this Buddha in front of me, and I asked the Buddha questions, and the Buddha answered me. It wasn't, literally that Buddha answered. Obviously, it was my unconscious, deep part of me answering me. And it was at that point, where I decided to let go enough to allow risk. Okay, and that completely transformed my life experience. That was the beginning point of that. I've had other occasions since then, and the big one was when, I'm sure most of you know this, which was when I had my youngest son, and I was on an operating table, and it was very clear that my chances of survival were very, very slim. And this was before they put me under anaesthetic, so I had to do a full anaesthetic operation. And there were all these people in there, because I had to still be conscious as I went into theatre, and it was all, it was about 15-20 people there. It was amazing. Our health service is incredible when things like that occur. And the anaesthetist, everyone was sort of crowding over me, because this was going to be this big operation that they only get to see or do once in their career. And so there was some excited people there, and the anaesthetist said, everyone step out, get away from her, she's had enough. And he was right, I'd had enough, because by that time I was losing, I was thinking, oh my God, I was looking for the surgeon going, oh, help me out here, and the surgeon was in the corner praying, and I'm not joking. And so I thought, and I just sort of went, oh my God. And he just went, just get out of her face, everyone get out of her face, just leave her alone. And I can still remember what I said to myself is when they started doing the countdown, and no one knew whether I was going to survive or not. I had to put all my affairs in order and all that kind of stuff. And I just said, I let go and I let be. And that's what I did. I'm not saying again that anyone has to go through these kind of experiences, but afterwards, a few days later or whatever, the surgeon said to me, she said, oh, I don't know, it was some weird thing happened in there. She said it was very, very odd. It was like she quietly said it to me, because she said, oh, my colleagues would think I'm mad. She said some kind of miracle occurred in there. She said, to the extent, she said, I didn't understand it. She said, I'm sorry, Heidi, but I opened you up twice, because I had to just double check, because it was just weird. Oh, right, cheers, thanks. But that, again, that experience was, for me, that was the completing of that energy, where I decided then, do you know what? I'm not going to, I actually decided on that day, or I decided that if I was going to live, I would live with no regrets. I would live every day making sure that I was really quite clear that if today was the day, that there was nothing I regret. And my son is 9 this year, 9 in a couple of months' time. And for those years, I can absolutely 100% say to you with honesty that I have no regrets, not one regret. That if tomorrow was the day, I'd say, someone said, have you got any regrets? I go, no, none. So what I'm saying is, the point of that story, or those stories, is that it was learning this whole idea that life is about the experience. It's about the risk of the experience. It's about that enlightenment process, that enlightenment journey. It's about that opening up. It's about that the experience of stepping into something. So when I work with people, that's what I do. I'm unafraid to step into their experience, to go, wow, look at this wonderment of this possibility, look at the wonderment of this opportunity. I don't see, there's no failure, there's just experience. So I look in and I think, okay, what's the experience in here? What is the thing that this person's deeper part is wanting to show them, to have that knowledge of? I wouldn't be able to do that if I was scared. So what occurred through those experiences in my life was to give me a different perspective on what scared was. It doesn't mean to say that I don't get scared of things. I get scared of very weird things. I'm trying to think of some weird things that I get scared of. I'm trying to think of stuff. I can't think of anything right now, but weird stuff. Like I'll run like a maniac across an empty road because there might be, a car that's coming in 20 minutes time. I do, weird things like that. But big things, it's not there. It's not there because of the enrichment of those types of experiences. And what I'm saying to you as an intuitive sensitive, because you're born into a wisdom path, that many of your life experiences are not easy. Not because you're here to be punished in some way, it's because it's the opportunity to expand on your learning. And what I'm saying to you, even if you listen to nothing else that I've said in this particular session, is allow yourself the beauty of that experience. Okay, allow yourself the possibility of communicating with the depth of who you are, your emotional parts, to hear, to listen to what the extraordinariness of who you are is trying to say, because you have a beauty that people around you don't have. And that beauty is your access to deeper emotion, to feeling, to the nervous system. See, I get all emotional about that because you can feel things. You can feel things in a depth of beauty. Okay? All you have to do is allow yourself the possibility and stepping in to your right-sized shoes. Okay? So I hope you found this session, this Q&A, helpful, even if I haven't managed to answer your specific question in the time that we've had, but you found that some of the questions have been relevant to your life, and even if just one thing that I've said has been of assistance to you, it's absolutely more than worth it. Okay, so I hope to see you if you're going to join me on the Enlightenment path, because it has opened this month. It's only opens twice a year. This level, there are lighter levels of the Enlightenment path, lighter opportunities to be able to join. But this higher level of the Enlightenment path only opens twice a year, and it's sealed because there's only a certain amount of people that I will work with at this kind of level, where there is a very much more personal interaction, because I then know who the members are. I know it's manageable because I can see everybody. I can see everybody's. They fill in a progress report. I can see everybody's. There's enough time for me to be able to feel for everybody. So it's never overfill it. It's within the scenario that I can see you, your path personally. There are lighter levels which I don't have access to your progress reports. You get to do content and things like that and progress and do things. So there are lighter levels to be able to join it, but as I say, this level only opens up twice a year. So I hope you've spent your time with me on this particular session. I hope you choose to take that opportunity. There will be a webinar next week. Okay, so there will be a free webinar next week where I will go into the fullness of your journey, but I won't be answering these kind of questions because obviously that was for a special thing for you for this particular session. Okay, so have a wonderful rest of your evening, daytime, wherever it is that you are, and I very much look forward to seeing you soon. And remember that your sensitivity is your greatest asset. Bye for now.